You're watching or listening to the Unnecessary Nonsense Podcast, episode 125. Yes, 125. On this episode, we shall discuss a little bit of remnants discussion on the Super Bowl. Well, I'll make fun of some WWE stuff. I'll make fun of some AEW stuff. We'll have a little bit of fun with both those things. And other randomness, that and more, on this episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense Podcast. As always, I am Carlos, and that is Deville.
This is true. So before we get started, Carlos, I want to let you know something. We have gone international.
We have gone international. Hold on. Out of excitement of international. Hold on. I feel like this is appropriate. If we're gonna go international, Dave, do you prefer? This is Carlos discovering you can do background music in this shit. It's built into the system. It's like.
So far, I like option 2.
Option 2?
Because we're going to Europe, so I feel like it's like at a Euro club.
Oh, I want to click on the rock one. Let me see what the rock one is.
Okay.
I'm a rock guy. So
all right. If this is what you want it, if you want it to be, I mean,
I'm turning down the volume. I'm putting it in. It is background music. I am putting it in background.
You have the controls. So
that I do.
Are you ready for this? So we're going to Barcelona, Carlos. And the reason we're going to Barcelona is because I'm giving a shout out to Dana, because I got a message this week to the effect of, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I love listening to you. So thanks, Dana.
That right there is approval. And if that wasn't exciting enough, today on this episode, Carlos discovers background music on StreamYard. I didn't actually discover it, but I hadn't bothered to click on it until now. So I was like, screw it, we're doing it live.
It's a double wonderful right now.
It really is. All right, so enough of that. So thank you for that, and thank you, Dana. Real quick, before I even get to the Super Bowl thing, quickly allow me to give you all an update on the MLB lockout situation. Nothing has happened, and it's that guy's fault. Moving on.
Fair enough. Oh, I want to tell you, Carlos. So this week's episode of 80s Wrestling, the podcast, I called in and talked to Jacques Rougeau.
This must be a big moment for you.
It was.
I
told him, I was like, I got to call in when it's a Canadian. When you bring on a Canadian, I feel compelled to call in.
I see.
You know, I haven't called in for a while, so I was like, all right, you're bringing on the Canadian guy. I will call in and talk about the Mountie and how he couldn't actually be the Mountie in Canada. And yeah, and even dropped a little French in the conversation as well.
You could have asked him if he ever got his man.
Not in Canada, apparently. In the States, yes. But not in Canada.
Very good. Excellent. All right. Seems reasonable. But yes, good.
Also, sorry, it makes me miss some of the old school promos.
Well, funny enough, funny that you mentioned that. I was randomly coming across something, and for whatever reason, I was scanning through, and in one of my recommendeds in YouTube, it showed like some Saturday Night's Main Event clips, and I wasn't gonna go down the rabbit hole, but then I was like, all right, even though I'm not interested in watching too many clips of this, let me bring up the old Saturday Night's Main Event theme song, the intro. Because they had the obsession with like that 81 that also was then used for like fashion television.
I remember that. Yes.
Oh, yeah, it was the same song. Well. It was the same song. And I think Vince McMahon did a retro Raw where they literally forced where the joke was that Jesse Ventura was there as a guest host, and as part of him being a guest host, he forced Vince to come do play-by-play with him, even though Vince hadn't done play-by-play in like years and years and years. But he not only forced him to do play-by-play with him, he forced him to come down to the ring, and instead of the usual No Chance in Hell theme song, they played Obsession, which is the song from Saturday Night's Main Event, but was also like the intro for Saturday Night's Main Event. So he came down to that, and he had the little bow tie on and everything. So it was Jesse Ventura doing like an old school thing. So 3 references to Saturday Night's Main Event. There you go.
Like it.
That's how I do it. That's how I roll. But yes, other than that, anything else going on the week?
Not really. My sister had a baby this week.
I see.
So welcome Audrey to the family. Mm. And also planning the March break trip to Disney.
A March break trip to Disney. Which one of the Disneys?
Disney World. I'm going to Florida.
I see. So you're going to go there and wrestle?
Yeah. I'm actually we're going as a family, but I'm just going to take off to the Performance Center apparently.
You should. Or you could go to Daly's place.
That's true. It's a little bit more of a drive, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all in Florida, whatever.
It's true. It is in the state.
It's like, you're going to go all the way there and not wrestle? Noob.
What a mark.
What's Florida even for then? moving on. Otherwise, no, nothing too crazy on my end. I did show you earlier. I picked up a Keith Lee WWE autograph. You know, a black refractor out of 10.
Which
So
is a solid card.
it is. It is. It's part of my ongoing quest as I've been going. I've kind of been finding enjoyment in putting together like a little mini themed collection of the XWE folks as they start getting out. You never know what's going to happen with any of these folks. Maybe nothing, but it's kind of amusing to me to pick up cards from them. I don't always get the autographs, but sometimes I do. So I picked up the Keith Lee, I picked up a Tony Storm, and I picked up a Tegan Knox. They may show up sooner or later somewhere. We'll see. And I did get the Peyton Royce some time ago, and then I may get a Billy Kay at some point just to kind of round that out. But it's
Nice.
yeah. So like, there's a couple of different folks. Oh, and I picked up an Ember Moon like gold refractor, not the autograph, but the regular version. So
Okay.
a little mini collection of basically these former WWE folks as they go on their way out, to go with my Adam Cole, to go with some of my other folks. So it's working out well.
Nice.
Yeah, should be some good stuff in the next couple of weeks anyway. It'll be fun. Okay, so what else do you want to finish off as far as the Super Bowl is concerned?
Well, I honestly, first of all, I'd like to say, like, I enjoy the game.
Yep.
I thought it was a great game, and probably, as a lot of people have said before, probably the greatest stretch of NFL games in a playoffs ever.
Yes.
I think that's kind of hard to deny that when you took at every single game, and so many of them being decided by less than a touchdown.
Yeah. The big thing for the Super Bowl was that at least it was in doubt at the end. It wasn't like a blowout. It wasn't like there was no chance. The Bengals did have a chance if they had executed a couple more plays.
Yeah,
Something good.
I don't love their play calling on offense or defense on those
Nope.
last two drives.
But at least they had an opportunity. The point
but
is,
they
if they
did.
had executed better, they had a chance. If they had executed a little better.
Be interesting to see. Obviously it always is because we haven't had what the last time was. What did the Patriots win back to back? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the last time we've had a back to back.
That was in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
So see, but it'd be interesting to see where they come back. But obviously, if they need a better offensive line.
Mhm.
Like they have shown, obviously this year that they can, manage their shortcomings to some degree, right? But with a better offensive line, they probably win that game.
Yeah, you're talking about the Bengals here on this one?
Yeah.
No, when you were asking about the back-to-back, though, were you talking about the back-to-back getting there or back-to-back winning?
Either, right? Because
no, well, if it's
just kinda
back-to-back getting there, though, then the Chiefs did that.
No, that's true. Sorry, I meant when I said it that way, I meant back-to-back winning.
Yeah. So that would be the Patriots, then, yes.
Yeah. But obviously, it's in terms of like whether the Bengals come back or, because there's a lot of good teams in the AFC, and it's quite feasible that Kansas City could be back next year, or Buffalo.
AFC to me is the more compelling of the two conferences right now because there's so much good quarterback play there. There are a lot of teams. Like, you could pitch me on Kansas City. You could pitch me on Buffalo if they can put a couple more things together, getting over the hump. You could pitch me on. What's it called? Cincinnati might be a little bit of stretch. I think they got there ahead of schedule. But if they fix a couple of things and fix that line a little bit, make sure Joe Burrow doesn't get sacked 70 times in a season, which is a lot. Maybe.
Yeah, that's one way to shorten somebody's career, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he took a punishment. He took a beating. And that's after a year where he was hurt. So it's like, I don't think you want the guy to get pummeled into the ground game after game after game. You can't be getting sacked 9 times in a playoff game. Normally, you don't win those.
No.
That's not a great way of going about it. So that's another team that's at least in the discussion. And that isn't even counting on if a couple of the quarterbacks move. If Aaron Rodgers goes to a Denver, that gets interesting.
For sure.
If something happens with the Steelers, if they can get a decent quarterback. Not likely, but if they did, that would make things interesting very quickly. The point is, there's a lot of teams over in the AFC that could make things really interesting, really fast, and suddenly be in the discussion, in the conversation. Whereas the NFC, it's actually a little bit more clear cut right now. There's not as many teams. There are teams that are there, but I don't think it's quite the dogfight that it is going to be out in the AFC.
I mean, if you look at it like NFC North,
yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers is there, it's the Packers. If he's not, you've got question marks. Right?
I think it'll be question marks either way. Their cap situation is very dire.
Fair enough, but I think the quarterback play is enough to get you to being you're better than the Vikings, the Bears, and whatever that other team is. Detroit. See, I can't even remember the other team. Right? The NFC South is really in flux. Like the only one who knows who the quarterback is right now is the Atlanta Falcons, and they suck with or without Matt Ryan.
Yep.
right? The NFC East sucks. I mean, Dallas, it's Dallas, so they suck, right? And the NFC West, well, okay, you got a couple good teams in it, right? The Rams should be able to be right there. Whether they go back or not, who knows? But, they have that capability for sure. And the 49ers are half decent. But again, who knows what their quarterback's going to be like. If Garoppolo leaves, which looks more like probable, not necessarily likely, but probable, versus Trey Lance, who's unproven, right? I mean, realistically, other than I would say the Rams right now, it's the Rams. Okay, we can put them in a playoff spot, and then the rest are question marks.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like right now, the quarterback shuffling is going to have, I think, a say in what happens next because there are a couple of teams in the NFC with a good quarterback. It doesn't have to be great, but a good quarterback. The 49ers can be legit because Jimmy G just doesn't work. Like it clearly, like that team was talented enough to potentially do something interesting, but Jimmy G doesn't work. So, but that doesn't mean the rest of the team's bad. They've got talent actually. So it's like you could be sitting there and there are teams there that could salivate. Obviously, one of the ones they throw in is like, oh, can Aaron Rodgers go to San Francisco? Well, he could, I suppose, but I don't know if the Packers would be keen on that deal.
Yeah, I mean, he theoretically could go anywhere.
Yeah, well, right. Well, the thing is, he can't because he's not really a free agent. But if the Packers could work out a deal with somebody and come up with something, I think it's a weird push and pull, right? It's because the Packers, I don't think want to concede defeat and just say like, okay, send him off somewhere. But it's like you realize you'll get nothing if he retires or if he sticks around for the year and then walks or whatever. Like, then you get nothing. Right now, you could at least get something in return, and then figure out what your next steps are and start working on the rebuild because you probably won't get Devontae Adams back. Okay, let's say you get Rodgers, but you don't get Devontae Adams back. Well, that offense just got worse. Yes, Rodgers can still do stuff, but it's like you took away his number one weapon.
Yeah, and I think what happens to Devontae Adams is largely depends on A, the cap situation, and B, what happens with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think he's going to want to come back necessarily if Rodgers is not there.
Yeah. It's one of those things as well where like even if you start trying to defer things, like right now, Rodgers has one more year left on that contract this upcoming year. And basically, if you try to restructure it, then you have to add additional years. And then you're kicking the can down the road, because your cap situation is going to be a problem again coming up the following year. You do something with Devontae Adams and try to structure it in a certain way. You're still going to have a cap problem down there. Like, you haven't addressed the problem. Yeah, the cap may move up over time, but it's like not enough to fix your problem. The problem is actually untenable. Like, there's actually no way out, really, other than kicking the can down the road and hoping for the best. And let's say you bring back most of the people you need. What if you make the playoffs barely and you're one and done again? What did you do all this for? You restructured it just to kick the can down the road to make the playoffs? That's it?
Yeah. So, Carlos, in the ownership meeting, what are you proposing?
Well, first thing I got to do is I got to kind of just throw shit at Jerry Jones. I feel like I got to spend the first chunk of the meeting just trolling this man. It'll be really funny. It's like, oh, so Dak, huh? Great signing there, Jerry. Atta boy! Good job! So can I pen you for not the Super Bowl? I was going to send you an invitation, but I didn't think you'd need one.
Ooh.
I know.
True.
I know. Listen, I like I said, I'm here to help.
You are?
I am chief trolling owner.
Yes, you are.
That I am. Yes. But yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I think the offseason will be interesting for me more than anything else. Is like, we'll see what happens. Like I said, for me, the potential quarterbacking carousel will be interesting because there's a lot of teams that maybe they could get really interesting really fast. Like this past season, maybe they weren't that relevant. One good quarterback in the right spot could suddenly shift the balance of power in a division, in a conference. Like there's a lot that can move here.
For sure.
So we'll see about that. I think
and I think you're missing the most important thing, Carlos.
Justice for the Young Go King?
Exactly.
Well, the problem is that we're only going to get justice if, the team that has never won a Super Bowl can ever get their shit together and figure out what to do.
Yeah, it's true.
Lack of justice.
It is true. Like, who knows what the heck is going on and what they end up going with that, but that's what we need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, shall we discuss some WWE matters?
Shall we? So let's start with some good news, I think, and then I have a question for you. And that good news is that the Undertaker, the WWE has announced the Undertaker will be going to the WWE Hall of Fame, which is probably it's extremely deserved. Like, that guy is a legend, and arguably one of the best, if not the best, wrestler of all time. And probably the best gimmick of all time.
Yep.
So congrats to the Undertaker. Let's put that out there. But given the sense that, I think it's a twofold part for you question, because first of all, should we really care about this? Because unlike other sports or sports entertainment, or other Hall of Fame, like, there's a definitive, there are more places that have more than one Hall of Fame for the same sport.
Yes.
Right. But one is sort of, this is the Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
So yes, there's like a Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and it's I've been there. It's not bad to go visit. But the Cooperstown National Baseball Hall of Fame is the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Right. And that goes for a variety of places around the world. Right. But with wrestling, you have the WWE Hall of Fame, which is basically for people who have been in the WWE, except for apparently Abdullah the Butcher, because reasons. And you have the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is in Wichita Falls, Texas. And then you have another one, which is in Iowa, like the Lou Thez / somebody else Hall of Fame, which is attached to another organization. So you have all these places that have inducted, and some people have been inducted to all of them. Obviously, a lot of people haven't. So how much stock should the average wrestling fan, not WWE fan, but the average wrestling fan, someone who enjoys pro wrestling, enjoys a variety of promotions, and just enjoys good matches and characters and wrestlers, how much stock should they put into the Undertaker being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?
That was the most spectacular and glorious. My only disappointment was that I didn't play background music for you while you gave that rundown, so that I could give you my answer. It's meaningless. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No, not even a little bit. Like, it's a made up WWE Hall of Fame. And it's based on whatever criteria they made up that day. Ric Flair's in it twice. He's in as an individual. He's in with the Horsemen. They put in Hogan with himself. They put in Hogan with the NWO. Like honestly, for me, I don't think this Hall of Fame is legitimate until we get in Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Booty Man, Zodiac, the Disciple.
Beefcake's in it. The Beefcake gimmick is in it.
Booty Man, Zodiac, the Disciple.
So what you're saying is
all three faces of Foley.
You want all Ed Leslie gimmicks.
I want all Ed Leslie gimmicks, especially Booty Man. That speech will be great. I don't care if he's working for AEW. They'll have to bring him through the forbidden door. Billy Gunn can induct him as well. He can do both. Little do you know that he is he is Mr. Ass.
It's true, he is.
Like, the jokes write themselves.
Or they could do a dual induction.
Sure, yeah.
Mr. Ass and Booty Man.
Yeah. But do you understand? It's like, literally Billy Gunn just shows up.
And then Booty Man, Ed Leslie, knocks out Billy Gunn using the high knee.
No, the point is that when Billy Gunn indicts him, when he inducts him, he will say, "I got two words for you. High knee!" And then just leaves. That's the induction. That at that point, that's the mic drop for the WWE Hall of Fame. We're done. The Hall of Fame is now closed.
All right.
We've done all we can. There is nothing more I can do for you. That was a much better answer as I went along, as I added more idiocy to it.
And you basically answered my second question too in that. Thank you for that. I was going to ask you in some seriousness, who is somebody who you feel is deserving of that honor that has not yet gotten it?
That was not a legitimate answer.
So no, but as I'm saying, you already answered it.
Yeah.
See, I was going to go with King Kong Bundy. That would have been my answer.
Yeah. Well, I'm only accepting it if the induction had been like 5 seconds.
But hey.
Yeah. The reality is, though, like I said, look, I think it's an excuse for some of these old wrestlers and folks to go in there and they have their own version of the Met Gala or the Oscars. They dress up nice
it obviously means something to them.
To some of them, it's a payday because I think they get a little bit of money. Some of them. So for some of them, you'll take the money.
Especially, if you look at somebody like, for example, if you look at somebody Undertaker, right, who is his, like, any autograph signing he does is managed by Fitterman Sports.
Yeah.
Right. So they're charging what, like $200 an autograph,
Okay.
just for him to sign Undertaker.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So really, they should be celebrating as a payday for themselves and for Undertaker, because now they can charge like another $99, because that's what they charge to write like 2 Carlos, for the HOF on the autograph.
So he's gonna pay me $299.
Why you?
Well,
You own Fitterman Sports?
if you're gonna write to Carlos, so he charges me $299, and then I charge him $600 for writing Carlos. This is my intellectual property. I own Carlos.
I see. Okay.
So like,
I didn't realize that there was intellectual property.
Yeah, it's like if you just wrote Carlos, I will send you a bill, but pay it, or you will rest in peace. None of this bullshit. Get out of here.
Boom. I like it. All right. So there you go.
Yeah, intellectual property will be protected, Dave. But yeah, to me, like I said, for me, the whole Hall of Fame is like, whatever. Put it whoever you want, for whatever reason you want. It's nice for them if they enjoy it and they get a kick out of it. They like their nice little ring and they have their ceremony. They have some people say some nice stuff about them. I have no moral objection to it. Is it deserved? Certainly. In WWE parlance, he's been about as valuable as anybody, especially for the length of time he's been doing it, for the amount of stuff he did. He probably hung around too long, and I'm still not completely convinced he has completely gone away. He may convince himself to come back again. I wish he wouldn't. He probably should have retired 5 years earlier. But to each their own. Do whatever you want. It's your life.
This is true. True story.
All right,
Carlos.
Can I mock?
You can now mock WWE.
All right, cool. Time for Saudi Blood
Can
Money.
we get some money? We need some intro music for this.
All right.
You got to. I mean, it doesn't have to be the background, but you got to work on you got to have something for this. Maybe you start playing Obsession every time you mock.
Yeah, but then we'd get the copyright block again.
That's true. Yeah, but at least we could do it once, and it would be fun.
It would be fun. All right, hold on. All right, let me give you some options here. These are the options, and I got to see if I can get StreamYard to expand this, but I like this. And I'm going to keep it low. I'm going to play it in the background.
Yeah.
All right, we got Acoustic Cinematic, which I haven't heard yet. We had Dance Pop, Daydreaming, Feeding the Ducks, which I think is the one you were actually liking. I'll play it again for you, but I think it's Feeding the Ducks. Into Space, Lo-Fi, Night Driving, and Rock. For the record, I need more descriptive things than this.
So I'm either going with the first one. What was the first one?
Acoustic Cinematic.
So Acoustic Cinematic or Night Driving.
Okay, so let's try Acoustic Cinematic. I'm going to play it for a moment. Let's hear it.
All right.
I don't know what it sounds like.
No.
All right, Night Driving. Yep, you're literally driving at night.
It's fairly accurate. I hate both of these for what you're about to talk about, though.
That's the Dance Pop one.
You can't go wrong with Dance Pop.
Sure. I am going to crank it way down, though.
People are going to start raving while Carlos hates on WWE.
I know, right? By the way,
Like,
until they come up
with Carlos.
Until they come up with better music, this is the last time I'm using this gimmick.
Fair enough.
So this is a one-shot deal for Carlos's dance party. All right, you're getting one. So here we go. All right, Elimination Chamber, or as the Fightful folks have started to dub some of these, Sons of Time.
Stop. Just turn the music off. I can't take you seriously with that music in the background. Sorry.
You were going to be able to take this seriously before?
But more serious than I would otherwise. I can't do it with the music. I can't just sit here and listen to you or comment, or ask you questions with that in the background. I'm done. I'm done if you keep playing that.
I changed my mind, StreamYard. I kind of like it. I will now probably bring back the gimmick at some point. Now it will be at a time of my choosing. All right, so Sands of Time or Saudi Blood Money. Okay, so I've got the play-by-play in terms of the matches themselves. And I'll quickly recap. I didn't watch the show because I'm not going to be bothered wasting my time on this trash. However, I got all the results, and I also watched a couple of clips here and there to get a sense of the vibe and the whole bit.
All right.
So I wanted to at least understand what was going on with it. And I can still comment on whether I think the result is a good idea given where I think they could go with this. Okay, so the pre-show was The Miz versus Rey Mysterio. Who gives a shit? Rey Mysterio won. The Miz tried to do some shadiness. This is basically leading into The Miz having some celebrity involvement. Because after the match, he basically alluded to maybe having a tag team partner, and it's going to be a celebrity. Probably like a Jake Paul or something. Like, that's one of the names I've heard. It may be somebody in that vein. The idea here is this is going to be your WrestleMania celebrity involvement, which of course involves The Miz, because The Miz doesn't actually wrestle real matches anymore. This barely counts, but I guess, whatever. Because Rey Mysterio has nothing better to do. Anyway, moving on. Okay. The actual first match of the actual main card was Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, which is pointless because Roman Reigns was never going to lose to Goldberg. This match lasted less than 5 minutes.
Correct.
You had your entrances. Goldberg loses. Roman Reigns retains. Moving on.
I'm not sure Roman Reigns is going to lose to anyone.
No,
ever.
the rate thing's going. So the rumored plan, and again, this is subject to change like everything else. The rumored plan is that, and I'll get to the closer plan, the shorter term plan, but the rumored long term plan is still they're thinking Rock and Roman Reigns at next year's WrestleMania, which means he will never lose the fucking title, ever. And then we'll drag it out for another year after this year's WrestleMania. And then he will face The Rock in the match of all matches where he's going to win anyway. And then I guess burst into flames or something. Like, I don't know. Ascend to the heavens. Like, who cares? I'm glad it's The Rock. Who cares?
Honestly, I love The Rock, but I don't want to see a 50-year-old Rock wrestle. I just don't.
It's too late. It is way too late to try to pull this off. I'm sure they'll sell it to the hilt. And I'm sure, mainstream media will catch on to it. But, honestly, if I'm The Rock, why do I want to even bother with this shit? Especially this far in advance. I might be busy that day. I might have something else to do.
And it's not like you need the money. That's for sure.
Well, also, heaven forbid, as he approaches 50, what if he gets injured between now and then? Your whole beautiful plan that you spent all this time cultivating bursts into flames in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
You're asking too much. You're thinking way too far ahead on that. Anyway. All right, so the next one was, and again, my point was the reason I'm not spending any time on this match is because it's a Goldberg match, which means it was going to last less than 5 minutes no matter what, and it did exactly what it was going to do. Moving on. Next one was the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which was Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan versus Doudrop versus Rhea Ripley versus Nikki ASH versus Alexa Bliss, who was added to the match late, on the show leading into it. Okay, so real quick. This is pointless trash. Bianca Belair won, just to set up the inevitable rematch with Becky Lynch, which in previous episodes I've explained is pointless. Who cares? Bianca Belair, by the way, will probably win. That'll be her great comeback after losing in 26 seconds, which, by the way, nothing will wipe that away, ever.
That's true.
But there's your great WrestleMania program. Woo. On a related note, this Elimination Chamber match was a waste of everyone's time. They changed the rules compared to the normal Elimination Chamber. Usually it's 5 minutes between the pods opening. So it's basically a cage with pods and everybody stuck in it. But they made him 2 minutes, which is basically saying, we don't give a shit. Let's get through this match. It was about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You have 6 people in there and it's 15 minutes. This is a pointless waste of my time. Also, Alexa Bliss. You do this whole thing with the vignettes and then, introduce that she's going to be the 6th person in this Elimination Chamber. Cool. Question. You're going to fly all the way to Saudi Arabia to do your little entrance and do whatever. You're going to get a payday. I hope it's good. But you're going to fly all the way to Saudi Arabia and you're going to be the one who's going to take the pin anyway because the only person that could win this was Bianca Belair. Liv Morgan isn't winning shit. Doudrop isn't winning shit. Rhea Ripley hasn't won a damn thing in forever. Nikki ASH was a champion not that long ago, but she's meaningless.
Yeah, I can't argue with you on any of that.
I just read you the list of names. Nobody was going to win this match except Bianca Belair or Alexa Bliss if you want to screw with everybody. That's it. There was nobody else. You may as well have made it a one-on-one match. Who cares?
Where's your storyline, right?
There's nothing here. And by the way, on a related note, they barely used the cage. They didn't really incorporate many elements of the cage. So it's like the whole point of the stupid cage and the pods and everything is like, oh, it's such a dangerous match because you can throw people against the walls. You can throw them against the pods. You can jump off the pods. You can do this, that, and they barely did any of that. So then and you shorten it because who gives a shit? $50 million for that crap. Thank you. We'll take your money. Goodbye. All right, then. Great. So Bianca Belair won as expected. Shock of no one. Moving on with our lives. All right, next. Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte Flair and Sonia Deville. Congratulations. Great. Ronda Rousey and Naomi won. Not to be expected. Ronda Rousey supposedly had her hand tied behind her back, but it was actually tied kind of to her side, which is stupid. She was wearing her gi, like her judoka gi. Mm-hmm. So, that's, in Saudi Arabia, they're not allowed to have skin. So, they had to be kind of covered from head to toe. But at least the judoka, the gi makes sense. That's a simple way. And it makes sense
for her, having been, an Olympic medalist.
Yeah. And the thing is, apparently she used the gi that she actually used in the Olympics. So great. Callback. Wonderful.
Cool.
At least it makes sense. Wonderful. So yeah, the end result was that Charlotte had the chance to break up the move, I guess the pin at the end, or maybe it was the submission. Whatever. The point is, she had a chance to do it. She didn't do it because she doesn't care about this match, because she's only concerned about the match coming up at WrestleMania, which makes total sense, because why would Charlotte Flair give a shit about this match? Again, fly to Saudi Arabia. Who cares? But the good news is Saudi Arabia is progressive, so they didn't like stone the women after the match. So that's good.
They should never have been there in the first place. We know the reason they're there is money. And that is the only reason that they are there.
Yeah.
It's because Saudi Arabia is paying a shit ton of money for this.
Yeah, it's an advertising campaign for Saudi Arabia. But whatever, like, okay, wonderful. I hope you got good money. Awesome. Okay, cool. Moving on. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. Who cares?
I don't even know who Madcap Moss is.
Doesn't matter.
I like Drew McIntyre.
Yes, but his job was to be there and beat Madcap Moss, who
And I'm
is
sure
the guy
he did
who.
that.
Yeah, he did, and he's the guy who hangs out with Happy Corbin, formerly Baron Corbin, because it's stupid.
Don't forget King Corbin.
Yes, previously King Corbin as well. Yeah. So anyway, Corbin of many names. Madcap Moss, his lackey.
See, seriously, why can't they call him that? That would be so much better.
That's
I
because
mean, it's not like they take themselves seriously anyway. So what the fuck?
No, the only things that really came out of this is a continuation of this pointless garbage. You wouldn't know this, but Drew McIntyre once won the WWE Championship in a WrestleMania main event. Did you know that?
I did
He beat
know
Brock
that because
Lesnar.
I've seen that match.
Yeah, but did you know that? Did you know he's the same guy? Because apparently he's facing Madcap Moss. Moving on.
Again, feels like wasted. Like, honestly, Drew McIntyre feels like a main eventer, top of the card kind of guy.
In theory, he would be.
Right? Like,
But
why
he's not.
why is he not there? It's I'm not saying he's necessarily, but like Cesaro. Like, Cesaro's better than they use him.
Well, he's had a million. They've had a million opportunities to use him, and at this point, this is the. We'll get into the Cody Rhodes thing in a minute, but this is the problem with that concept of like, oh, they'll use him right this time. Literally, Drew McIntyre is the case study of was treated like a loser forever, left WWE, went and rebuilt himself up in the Indies, came back, looking like $1 million. Dude was jacked. It's like they were able to do some promos around it. They built him up briefly. He was the WWE champion during the whole pandemic period where they had no crowds and stuff, so they made the best out of what they could. He looked the part, but then the first opportunity that came over, that the crowds came back and stuff, they dropped the whole thing, and now he's beating Madcap Moss at Saudi Blood Money pay-per-view. So
That's what they should call that. Please rename every pay-per-view they do in Saudi Arabia should now be called like whatever. Well, I don't know what number this one is. It's probably at least like 3, 4.
they're like
right?
4. They're like 3 or 4 years into it. Yeah.
Right. So it'd be like Saudi Blood Money 5. That's what
Yeah.
they should just call them. They should just number them instead of WrestleMania. Right? Like it's like or if they want to, they could be like Saudi Blood Money VI. That would also be.
But the key to me is it's more insulting if you're too lazy to use Roman numerals. You literally have to use Arabic numerals. You do not use Roman numerals. Like, you do not deserve Roman numerals.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We will take your money, but you don't get Roman numerals. You want Roman numerals, you have to pay double. Ha!
They might.
They might. At least get the extra cash then. You may as well. Anyway, the only real story coming out of this match was that Drew McIntyre did an Alabama slam on Madcap Moss. Again, this match is irrelevant, but the only reason I'm taking a second to talk about it is because he did an Alabama slam on Madcap Moss, which is very dangerously done, and Madcap Moss looked like he was dropped literally on his head with his head twisting. It looked like he broke his neck. So we'll have to see going forward as they come back and they get checked out properly in medical. It seemed to be that he was okay. He was able to finish the match. He finished the match, but it did look like he broke his neck. Didn't actually look very good. Like, literally, he got slammed onto his neck, and his head is like, as he hits the mat. It's like, that's not good. You shouldn't over-rotate a guy like that. That's bad. Very dangerous. Moving on. So yes, this feud will continue with Corbin of many names. All right, next match, because by the way, this is like the 3rd women's match, so very progressive, by the way. No stonings. Reporting, just so you all know. All right, next match, Becky Lynch versus Lito. Again, who gives a shit? For the reasons I outlined last week. Lita's 46 years old. By the way, by all accounts, this was the best match on the card. which is very damning for the entire women's division when this is the best match that you got out of it, because Lito tried hard. They did a decent job with it. Becky Lynch tried pretty hard. They did a decent job of it. By the way, Becky Lynch was not losing this. It didn't matter. Like, I congratulate you. You had a good match, a decent match. Congratulations to Lito. It has been 16 years since you had a real singles match. So kudos to her for coming in, doing the best she could, being in decent shape, putting in a hard effort. Hopefully the paycheck was good. This match was irrelevant. Because it literally has no bearing on what goes on going forward.
True.
Like, it literally has nothing to do with what will continue. So this was pointless. But it was the best match on the card, so I guess it wasn't completely pointless. At least there was a decent match on the card, so awesome. Moving on. Okay, so here we go. SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The Usos versus the Viking Raiders. This match didn't actually happen. They flew them to Saudi Arabia to do a gimmick where the Usos attacked them beforehand, and the match never occurred. Saudi blood money! Moving on. All right, WWE Championship Elimination Match. Bobby Lashley, the incumbent champion, taking on Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins versus Riddle versus Austin Theory versus AJ Styles. The winner is Brock Lesnar.
So, am I surprised?
No.
Are you surprised? Is anyone surprised?
No. And that's what I mean. Like, this entire card, it's like...
So now we get Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Champion versus champion.
Which we all knew was coming anyway.
Correct, yes. But... Bobby Lashley did not take a pin. Bobby Lashley was pinned by no one. Bobby Lashley was possibly kayfabe concussed, therefore resulting in him being taken out of the match by doctor's orders or whatever, and therefore he didn't lose. So we may get more Bobby Lashley in this because he never lost this match.
So that's how they fill the time between now and WrestleMania.
Probably, yeah. Seth Rollins lost first because he's a loser, and Austin Theory was thrown in an F5 off the top of a pod. At least they used the pod for something. So Brock Lesnar did some Brock Lesnar things. Very strong.
That sounds painful.
No, very. Apparently he was thrown very far from the top of a pod, and he was possibly killed. Austin Theory may already be dead. But his soul is still dancing, so he'll be on Raw.
Perfect.
Moving on. So Brock Lesnar won, and that's how we take off the air at Saudi Blood Money. Woo! Championship! Woo! Champion versus champion! Woo! $50 million! Good job, everybody! Get back on the fucking plane!
Pretty much, right?
Yes. And that was WWE Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia / Sands of Time. That's a Fightful joke.
Just
Move it.
no.
So there you go. I thought I would share that with you and give you a nice little rundown. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. None of it
I enjoyed
mattered.
the rundown. I feel the rundown was more entertaining than the actual show was.
I try. The point is none of it mattered. Not one single thing that I named off mattered. All of it was irrelevant. It was a complete waste of time. I wouldn't have even put that on a Saturday Superstars. That's how pointlessly shitty it was. You may as well have made this a glorified house show. It was a glorified house show. Moving on.
But, storylines are so important.
Yes, and a lot of them were advanced. We're going to get a random celebrity. And the matches we already expected that were already lined up.
I feel like that is the most story development we got here. Because everything else was so predictable.
Yes. I'm still a lot more intrigued by Pirate Julia Hart. I would rather talk about Pirate Julia Hart.
Dude, man, we should just make this the Pirate Julia Hart podcast. At least for a few weeks.
There's more development. There's more reasons to speculate. We can find out what ship she's going to get assigned to. She can find out if she knows Jack Sparrow. There's way more intrigue.
You know what? I'll do this for us, Carlos, okay? I will ride Pirates of the Caribbean in Disney in March and let you know if Julia Hart is now part of the attraction.
This is critically important. This is good. It's good. Okay. So you ready for AEW?
Yeah. I have so much AEW I want to talk about, Carlos.
Go ahead.
Good and
Let's
bad. But let's start with the big news of this week.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes have left the company because their contract. Because unlike WWE, Tony Khan just waits till everyone's contract expires as opposed to releasing them early.
Yeah, for the unless there's a behavioral issue or whatever, because they did have a couple of cases where there was an issue, and they did because the name escapes me because there was during the Me Too movement, there was one of the guys who was with Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian. The name totally escapes me right now, but I think it was I want to say Jimmy Havoc. I think it might be Jimmy Havoc. Anyway, the point is he was with them. They were like a little group, a trio. They were like what's the damn thing they were going by? Team Superbad or something. They were like this little like trio tandem, and then
Okay.
Kip Sabian and him were like tag teaming, and then Penelope Ford was obviously with them as a valet manager or whatever. So they were this unit, and I actually liked them. I thought they were pretty fun as a little group there. This was still early AEW days. But there was like the Me Too movement and kind of an issue where he had some issues with like sexual harassment or something. I forget the details. The point is, it was something kind of bad, and AEW then kind of gave him the boot. So that was very early. But if it's a behavioral issue, they're a little bit they will pull the hook on you. But assuming everything is normal, assuming it's just we don't have anything for you, they will allow the contract just to expire.
All right.
Just wanted to add a little context.
Yeah, no, fair. That's good, I think. So Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes have left.
Yes.
The rumor is Cody is going back to WWE, clearly to get paid money.
Could be.
Well, who knows? I mean, you have some theories and some stuff on this. So why don't you tell us, Carlos? Why did they leave?
So I think it's a combination. I think money is not irrelevant to this. But I think he would have made money either way if it was just.
Because here's the thing: when people are like, "Oh, money," like Tony Khan's got money. It's not like Tony Khan doesn't have money.
Yeah, they're multi-billionaires. They in reality, in actual truth, they have more money than WWE does. If it's just about money, they could pay him 10 times what WWE could offer.
Yeah. Now, I would say, correct me though, just so we're for the full context of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
WWE at the time is a more profitable company.
Oh yes, but they're also like the incumbent company. They have more revenue streams. Like AEW runs as one of the Khan family businesses. But as a family, like as an overall enterprise, what they do, they have their hands in many pies. They have more money than WWE. They have more cash money. However, as an independent business, one piece of the business, AEW at this point in time, to what everything I've been made to understand up until this point, is profitable. But their revenue streams are a fraction because they don't have as many. They don't have a $200 million a year Peacock deal with NBC Universal. They don't have a $450 million a year just from TV from USA Network and Fox. So like when you get a TV deal, their next TV deal may be into 9 figures. They may head into the 100 million plus category because they've actually done pretty well, and the TV and Turner is actually pretty happy with what they've done in such a short period of time and how they're working as a partner. So they could very well be 100 million plus in the next TV deal, which could also result in an extra hour of Rampage and a couple of other things. So that may in turn make the TV deal even a little bit more lucrative. Adding an additional hour of TV, you can make it 150, maybe 200 million, but that would be one network. But still, if you have 150, 200 million coming from TV per year, that's a good start. Like that's a great place. And then it lets you get more out there. It lets you build. But your merchandise sales and stuff is growing over time. You're still building your brand. They're actually drawing pretty well when they go to different places and locations. Depending on the week, on some weeks, Dynamite actually gets more people buying tickets to see Dynamite than Raw or SmackDown, depending on the week. They actually sell more tickets in the building.
Really? Because they are going in smaller venues, generally speaking.
But WWE is not exactly filling them. There's a lot of like, hey, you want to come and see a wrestling show? Sure, go sit in the chair. Look like you're enthusiastic. They also give away a lot of tickets. Those don't count. If you give away a ticket, that's not a paid person.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's like, but like I said, WWE still has a lot of fans, but they have a lot of shows. I have to look at where they've been. There's a Madison Square Garden show that's coming up in early March on the Road to WrestleMania. They always do their Road to WrestleMania tour. It's in Madison Square Garden, which is a WWE stronghold traditionally. That's one of their big places. They've barely sold 4,000 tickets for it at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
So like they're gonna have to move their ass in gear. Like from what I understand, this is a house show. From what I understand, they booked Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey. Like they're like, put everything we got.
But their prices are also, I mean, in some cases are just ridiculous for what you're getting.
Yeah. But the point is, like, back in the day,
right?
When things are hot, they were able to sell the tickets anyway.
No, for sure. But would you, because I've looked this up, would you pay close to $700 to seat ringside at a house show in Toronto?
Right now for WWE, I wouldn't pay $1.95.
Fair enough. But you know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But the thing is, like I said, when things were hot, this was not an issue. This was not they would be able to sell those tickets. I wouldn't pay $700 to be ringside at AEW either. I don't need to be ringside. There's a lot of good vantage points and good spots that's still good that you can have to attend a show. Would I get decent seats if I went to an AEW? Sure. I'd like to get some decent seats so I can see the ring, see the action, see what's going on. That'd be kind of fun. But am I going to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the privilege? No. However, they are managing to sell the tickets, and having reasonable ticket prices also means that you have the chance for enthusiastic fan bases to then be able to, because then you can still get rank and file folks. Because if it gets too expensive, assuming you sell the tickets, then it becomes like what happens with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The people that are up against the glass are like your corporate crowd. They're not like the enthusiastic super fans of the Leafs. They're people who have a lot of money, or it's like it's a business tax write-off. And it's like, yeah, it's $1,000 a ticket. Who the hell's buying this ticket? This corporation. And they're giving it to clients and stuff and showing, it's not the regular rank and file, diehard Leafs fan. They're probably up in the nosebleeds because that's the ticket they can afford. So if you make it accessible, you do fill the space, but also you have a little bit more enthusiastic fan who may have money left over to buy some shirts. They may buy some merch and you get your money that way.
True.
So there's opportunities. So
you too can get your very elite, very evil Danhausen shirt, Carlos.
Soon, buddy. Soon. I'm not buying a Danhausen shirt. However, if they get the Danhausen cards, I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. Ask me about it after I turn this recording off. I may have asked questions related to this. Insider knowledge, Dave. Insider knowledge. But you got to ask me offline.
All right.
All right. So real quick, bottom line point, I believe money is not irrelevant to this. I believe Cody did want to be paid well. But I believe just as important to it is that and this is the analogy I'll use. When AEW started, you started off with the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Hangman, and a couple of the other guys there that started right at the beginning. And they had a vision for kind of this thing. They managed to convince Tony Khan of the vision. They ran the All Out show in Chicago that was very successful. They did a great job with that. It was a proof of concept. They were able to prove, hey, this might be viable. We might be able to make a business out of this. And Tony Khan's the money guy. He's the one who has the money to be able to make this happen. So they convince him. All right, he's sold. He's a wrestling fan. He's like intrigued by this. In the early days, I'm just painting you a scenario. Mm-hmm. In the early days, you're going to lean on these guys because they're the wrestling guys. They're the passion guys. However, important, and this is what I believe has occurred. Over time, Tony Khan is still the money guy. He is very receptive. He will listen to a lot of the stuff. But at the end of the day, Tony Khan has a vision. Once he saw that a vision was possible, it kind of got light bulbs going off in his head. It got him interested. But Cody Rhodes is the son of Dusty Rhodes, who ran promotions and did all this stuff. He is a lifer in the wrestling business. He has a vision of professional wrestling. Kenny Omega has a vision of professional wrestling. The Young Bucks have a vision of professional wrestling. And a quote that I'm going to give you will allude to this. So please remind me. I will come back to it. I have a quote here about this. But they have these visions. Are there common elements amongst their visions, including Tony Khan's vision? Yes. But are they identical visions of what this should be, of what this AEW should become? No, they're not. And what happens over time, remember, they're all EVPs at the outset. All these guys are EVPs. Over time, they're still EVPs. But over time, a little bit of the power got pulled back because Kenny Omega used to do all the creative for the women. He's still involved. But that was a lot of the Yoshi wrestling, a lot of the Yoshi wrestlers from Japan, because Kenny Omega has a very strong Japan influence because he spent years doing IWGP. He likes that style. It's been toned down quite a bit. Cody Rhodes had a strong influence. He was sitting in the gorilla position in the back, helping to produce a lot of the early shows. Over time, that got slowly scaled back. Brandy Rhodes was involved in a lot of storylines. People may remember, not fondly, the Nightmare Collective, which was stupid, and a lot of other terrible creative ideas that involved Brandy Rhodes, including terrible creative ideas that involved Brandy Rhodes towards the tail end of their tenure, where she's feuding with Dan Lambert in a battle of, I hate this guy and I hate this woman.
It's true.
Who am I supposed to cheer for? I hate you both. So it's like,
the answer was Dan Lambert, apparently.
Yeah. Well, the problem is he was supposed to be the one they hated, and they still were booing Brandy. And eventually Dan Lambert's like, I'm supposed to be here getting heat for you, and they're booing you. It's like, correct? You are correct in your statement. So anyway, not good. And Brandy obviously was involved in things in the back as the brand officer. She actually has some experience doing some of that stuff, so she's not unqualified. She was able to do a lot. She was able to help with certain things, and they acknowledge some of that in their statements and stuff. But at the same time, you've got these two who have a vision and things, and slowly stuff is getting pulled back. Because as Tony Khan is looking at it, at a certain point, the creative started to take a shift. If you go back to early AEW episodes, and then as time went on, the creative started to shift in the approach to it.
Right.
Certain characters started to be de-emphasized. That includes some of the AEW originals whose contracts may eventually run out and they will move on to other pastures. Not because they're not good, but because their usefulness has slowly waned.
And some of them aren't that great.
And some of them are not that great, but they served their purpose in the early days, though. In the
Yes.
early days, you didn't have anybody. So, like, we'll use who we got. The reason Chris Jericho was the first world champion is because he's the only one who had the credibility and the gravitas coming in out of the door. North American fans knew who Chris Jericho was. They didn't know who Hangman Page was. They might have heard of Kenny Omega, but they didn't really know Kenny Omega. If you watch Japan, IWGP, then you knew him. You didn't know the Young Bucks. You might have heard of them, but you didn't really know them. They weren't the names. Chris Jericho, people know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So as the first champion, because they remember it was Hangman and Chris Jericho for the championship the first time. That was the first match for the championship. It made more sense for Jericho to start off as the first champion, establish credibility, have a championship reign, and then eventually hand it off to Jon Moxley, another guy who at least has a little bit of cachet. He's a known quantity.
Mm-hmm.
By the time that Kenny Omega has it, Kenny Omega is now established as a character on AEW television. He goes in, now he's the champion. Now at this point, the Young Bucks have had a run with the tag team titles. Kenny Omega had to run with the tag team titles in a storyline with Hangman Page. Hangman Page has had this long storyline, eventually leading him to the championship down the road. Mm-hmm. But the point is, now we've had some time. Now we've gotten to see Hangman, we've gotten to see Cody Rhodes, we've gotten to see the Young Bucks, all these guys. Cody Rhodes was a WWE guy. And my point here with all this, as slowly this is starting to get pulled back, Cody Rhodes was extremely important. I want to give all this context because I do not want to downplay his importance. He was a very important player in the early days of AEW and building it up to where it is.
Absolutely.
And still extremely useful because that, the ladder match with Sammy Guevara helped.
Great match.
Helped emphasize Sammy Guevara's position as a strong TNT champion. This is good. So he was doing some very good work. But the point is, eventually Cody's importance on the card, even though he was still continuously treated as a big deal with the elaborate entrance and the storylines that only really centered around Cody and really had nothing to do with anything else. They were just kind of in this vacuum. The Codyverse in its own little corner at the AEW as the rest of AEW is going on over here. He was never treated like a small timer. He was actually treated like a main eventer, even though he wasn't in the main event most of the time.
Right.
So they were still giving him a lot of airtime. However, even with all this said, eventually the pecking order started to shift. So you're being pulled back from creative. You are a lot less important than you were previously, not because you're doing anything bad, but at a certain point, okay, let's talk about the heavyweight championship. Let's get rid of that stipulation that they set up storyline wise to keep him away from the title. So do I give Cody Rhodes? I'll name off some people. You tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Should I give Cody Rhodes the title over MJF?
No.
Should I give Cody Rhodes the title over Bryan Danielson?
No.
CM Punk?
No.
Adam Cole?
Yes, in my opinion.
Adam Cole is infinitely better as a character than Cody Rhodes is. Cody Rhodes doesn't have a character. Right now, he's kind of that in between, like, am I a good guy, a bad guy?
True.
Like,
this is true as well.
He's not a character, really. He's just...
He's Cody.
He's Homelander. He's Homelander. Even with the gimmick and the whole bit. And a neck tattoo. But the point is that, like, Cody is in a spot where he's still really good in ring. But he's actually not a main eventer in a company he helped build.
Correct.
Like, Adam Cole is way closer to being a main eventer because he does the great in-ring work. Plus, he's very clearly a heel. But he can also get people to do the Adam Cole, baby! They'll still do it with him and then boo him right after. So, it works. It's still, the audience can react to him. But all these guys can get it done in the ring. And there's a lot of compelling matchups. Now, in addition to that, Cody over Jon Moxley.
No.
Cody over Miro as he finally
if
defeats
Miro
God.
ever comes back from his battle with God, where is Miro?
He was injured he was actually very injured for a little bit there. He wrestled that match with Bryan Danielson ahead of schedule. He actually didn't need to wrestle that match. They asked him if he would do it and he agreed, but he was actually still injured. So after he completes, healing and his battle with God, Miro was already in a very good trajectory. He comes back, wins a couple of dominant matches. You could throw him into the main event circle.
For sure.
Would anyone question this?
No.
No. And he was doing very well right up until that point. But this is my point. I've got all these guys that are already on the cusp. And then even in the second tier, I talk about the TNT Championship. Wardlow is steadily moving up. And now, after this past Rampage episode, my three guys for the Face of the Revolution thing so far are Powerhouse Hobbs, good. I'm happy that he's getting that opportunity.
Me too.
Keith Lee, who has a ton of potential. We can see what they do with him. It's looking good. And we've got Wardlow. Hoss fight! Hoss fight! Big old hosses smacking each other. I like it.
It's worth the pay-per-view vibe just for the Hoss fight, Carlos.
Dave, I like where we're going with this.
I do too.
So the point is, do I want Hoss fight or Codyverse? Screw you, Codyverse, get out.
Anyone in their right mind wants Hoss fight.
Like, look, man, look, and again, I wanted to make sure I gave that preamble. It's important to me that I give Cody his acknowledgement. I give him his due. He deserves respect for what he has done.
Absolutely, 100%.
But for God's sake, I'm more intrigued in Pirate Julia Hart than I am in Codyverse. I don't care about the Codyverse. I don't want a Brandy Rhodes promo. Thank God. Please leave.
And I don't think the AEW audience really does either.
Yeah. The point is, again, no insult to either one of them. I also gave Brandy credit. Remember, I said she's done a very good job as a branding off. As a character, she sucks. But in her job working with charities and doing that behind the scenes stuff, she's actually quite good. I want to give her credit and respect for that. But as a character, she sucks. Real bad. Real bad.
But she can light a table on fire.
Wonderful. Splendid. Also, in the same vein, I would rather see more. So with Cody and Brandy out of the picture, and I'll finish with the Cody side of it as well. But with Cody and Brandy out of the picture, what you've done is you've created more airtime that with promos and with wrestling matches. So you're saying, I can give you more Bryan Danielson. I can give you more CM Punk. I can give you some more development in Wardlow. I can give you Pirate Julia Hart. I can give you the return of Miro. I can give you a little
House
bit more
of Black,
time.
man.
House of Black. So Malachi Black. If you want to put him in the main event picture, that's cool too. By the way, we can do that. Mid-card picture, like TNT Championship level. Who's about to compete for the mid-card title? The TNT, well, let's not call it mid-card, but it really is kind of a mid-card title. But it's been treated very well, by the way. It's been treated, it can main event shows. They can do it with the TNT Championship. They've done a good job with it. Andrade. All of a sudden, Andrade is there competing for a TNT Championship. Isn't it funny how suddenly we have a little bit more airtime and Andrade gets to do some more stuff. We have a little time to develop a potential link between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley that could be like a two-man power trip thing where maybe they win a couple of titles. All of a sudden, we have a little more airtime for the Young Bucks. All of a sudden, Adam Cole is suddenly competing for the championship. All of a sudden, I have the opportunity where I've got all these potential trios teams if I want to introduce that trios championship. And I've got more airtime to put it in. Mm-hmm. Or I can have another Cody promo.
You know? But Arn Anderson, Carlos.
Arn Anderson will find something to do. He'll be fine. And I can have more time for Hook to beat up one of QT Marshall's lackeys. Bro! My point is that they've got a very deep roster now. Cody Rhodes was...
If we could only find more time for Jay Lethal.
He might get it, but he might get a chance.
In all seriousness.
But he might get a chance.
People you mentioned, like the people, like I want to see, and hopefully we're getting it. I want to see more Andrade. I think we're going to get that. Right? I also would like to see more Jay Lethal, right? I also feel sorry for Tony Nese. I want to put that up there too.
I think you'll get some time for Tony Nese though. But here's the thing though: the fact that you just brought up Jay Lethal though, do you realize how many people I named off?
That's a lot of people.
Where does Cody fit on the depth chart now? Like I named like a billion people.
But you're honest in terms of overall health of the company. Right? Like here's the thing, like, because at first I was like, oh man, Cody Rhodes, and then it's like, honestly, from maybe if anything, like I don't know because I don't know the inner workings behind the scenes. Obviously, it hurts. If anything, it hurts you more from a, running of the company place than it does from a TV show talent place.
It could.
Like
but like I said, he's been de-emphasized in that role.
Well, I know that too, right?
He's not.
But that's what I mean. Like, but the whole thing is like you don't need him on your programming. Like, if for people who are like, oh, see, like for anyone who thinks that, oh, this is the beginning of the end for AEW.
I've got a counter for that. I've got a specific counter for that though.
Well, no, but I don't think that. But what I'm saying is,
I understand, but I've got the perfect counter for that.
All right, what is it?
So here's the thing, and this goes back to somebody asked me. It's like, oh well, do you think Vince is going to then parade him around and then immediately push him to near the top to be like send a message like, oh well, if AEW is so good, why one of your EVPs, one of your founders, come over here? And then my retort would be like, because when he left, he was a low-end mid-carder that you put in face paint in a stupid gimmick. He was literally trash. No one cared. You had over a decade to make him a star and you couldn't do shit. Now he went to this company, helped build it up, did a great job. He left because at that point he was actually kind of low on the totem pole because they got too much talent. Too much actual good talent, including talent you fired that you couldn't do shit with. Miro is feuding with God because he elevated himself from being at the bottom of your card. So if reality, what you're telling me, if you pay him a lot of money and all of a sudden you're putting him to the top of the card, you're going to treat him like he's on par with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns competing with him, he's not going to do it. But assuming he does, you've basically proven you can't build a star. That means everybody in your roster, wait a minute, so if I want to become a star, I should probably go to AEW and become a star. Even if I want to come back, then they'll pay me more when I come back. I got to leave this hellhole because you can't promote me for shit. So that would, like, if I was AEW, I'd be like,
that's part of the. I mean, granted, both companies have their issues. Let's put it like right, but WWE's thing is like, right? Like, here's the thing. Like, there is something to be said about certain people, but why are you bringing back Goldberg or Brock Lesnar when you could push guys like Drew McIntyre or all the internet's favorite Veer Mahan?
Indeed. But the thing is, I like to think that the best move for WWE is to have Cody Rhodes come in and feud with WWE legend Veer Mahan. That's the obvious move.
Yeah, I think so.
Veer Mahan.
You know what I mean? Like good for Cody, whatever. If he gets what he wants, good for him, right?
But my point is, no matter what they do,
I have any ill will for that man.
Yeah, but my point is, no matter what they do, AEW, if they were smart, all you got to do is point to, actually, this is a success story. When he left, he was not in a good position. He would not have commanded the money.
He was fucking Stardust.
That's what I'm getting at.
Like, so, dude.
If nothing else, you have left us in a much better position for you as well.
So for the record, I need to tell you a story, okay, about this. So it goes to this thing, right? And it was like, because when you're out of it for a while. So I was out of wrestling for a long time. I mean, I paid attention to who were the big, you knew the big names, but other than that. Mm-hmm. So in my getting back into wrestling, starting to watch AEW, I watched some freaking Scooby-Doo movie. Right, it's like a Scooby-Doo not WrestleMania, but Scooby-Doo wrestling movie.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. So it's a cartoon, but it has WWE wrestlers in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and the mystery is there's like a race they're doing, and someone's trying to fiddle with the race, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the teams on the race is Goldust and Stardust.
Yep.
Right, and I was like, okay, I get Goldust. I'm like, I don't know why Goldust is still a thing, and because this movie's from like 2014, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, who the fuck is Stardust? Like, I don't remember this. Like, I honestly thought it was a made-up character for the thing, right? And then I watched more others, and I'm like, oh, this is actually a real thing. And I'm like, this is really dumb.
Yep. Yeah. But the bottom line is that, as I said, if I was in the position of AEW, I would look at it, and I would make sure I also talk to the talent, make sure you communicate, and just say, hey, guys, like, look, we weren't able to come to a deal. There were things he wanted to do that we couldn't do. The money wasn't the only thing, but it was one of a couple of things. And he's leaving in a good position. If he gets a lot of money from WWE, then good for him. That's great. In reality, though, like what AEW should be proud of is that they were able to build a company from scratch. He contributed big time. Give him his credit. Give him his praise. Like, give him his praise. Give him his credit.
I think they've been doing a fairly good job.
I feel like that, but keep doing it. In front of the talent, too. Give him his praise. Give him his credit. Give him all the praise and all the credit he deserves. But then at the same time, hey, look, he's going to have an opportunity to do something over there. But if they treat him like a big deal, they're basically acknowledging us. Because you didn't think it was a big deal when he left. What changed? The neck tattoo? Was it the neck tattoo, Vince? He got a neck tattoo and now he's a star.
Maybe.
No. but that's my point. Like, you can spin this very easily to be like, so you admit that we're better at building stars than you are. Because you had over a decade and you didn't do shit. And now you have to make him a star. Or, alternatively, you treat him like shit, and it's like, point proven. You still can't do it right.
Really, if they play this right, they can't lose.
That's what I'm getting at. You got to position it correctly. Now, let me read you a quote from Kenny Omega. He was on Wrestling Observer Radio, and he was talking about this specifically. So I'll read you this one. And then eventually, as you know, I guess probably a lot of fans know now, it's essentially now just Tony's show. So this is a reference to the early days when they were EVPs getting started. They had a lot of input. And then
now they still have the EVP title, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But this is describing how the current situation is with Tony Khan and them as well. And this is where I'll finalize the Cody side of things to give you the full picture now.
Okay.
Okay. And of course, he's always going to listen to our advice and take our suggestions to heart. But AEW is very much Tony's thing. So this is Kenny Omega, just to be clear. Tony's baby, and we're there to support it in any way we can. And it's very possible that this current version of AEW just wasn't a good fit for Cody, to Cody. For me, I feel like he was one of the original four. There's always going to be a place for him, and there's always, you saw it in the ladder match with Sammy Guevara. He's got incredible ability, and he's able to help our younger talent. So nothing from an in-ring perspective. There's no issues there. If I had a clear-cut answer for you guys, I would love to tell you, but I don't know it. All I can say is whatever he decides to do. I heard he's on a fight in Saudi Arabia. He's joking. If that makes him happy, that makes him happy. Then again, the Bucks and I, we weren't in this for the war, the WWE versus AEW. So all the guys and gals in WWE doing their thing, always wishing the best for those guys, always. Now, basically, he's giving the contrast between his vision of what AEW was going to be as they started it, the Bucks, and then Cody Rhodes. And his opinion was he and the Bucks are similar in their overall vision. Like, it's not exactly what they thought about, but it's actually pretty close. Like, they're saying, like, our visions are pretty much aligned, and we're happy to support what's going on here. But he felt like Cody Rhodes had a completely different vision of what AEW would become. So when you take away his power, and in reality, he doesn't get to shape it in his vision, that's where you created the Codyverse. Yeah. It's almost like a compromise. It's like, okay, we'll let you operate inside of this pocket, this weird pocket where you can try whatever random weird shit you're going to do. But the problem is you're putting it on TV, and the rest of us are like, that does not connect with the rest of this product in any way. It's like its own little thing. Yeah. It's like a segment within the show that has no bearing on the rest of the show. And it becomes kind of weird after a while. So I feel like from a power perspective, Cody Rhodes probably was dissatisfied. I don't think the money was as big an issue as that. I do think he felt like he wanted more control than he was actually going to get. By the way, WWE isn't going to give it to him either. Traditionally, they don't. But the other reality is he kind of wants to be the master of his own fate. And by the way, he's worth more than when he left. So, like, I mean, if he wants to do that and just take some money, the money's going to be available there. WWE has it. Whether that works for him in the long run is a different conversation. And like I said, Kenny Omega was very frank in this. And he goes here. But again, through my professional relationship with Cody was great. He's not a guy that I go and get a Diet Pepsi with on my off time. So I don't know how he personally feels about anything. I can only guess as to why he would leave, that I think he saw with his deal an opportunity to investigate something within wrestling or just life in general that would bring him more happiness. So that's Kenny Omega's guess. Like anybody else's, it's a guess. But he's one of the original guys too. And he acknowledges that there's a difference in vision. At the end of the day, it's Tony Khan's show. If you don't agree with the vision, then maybe you're not going to stick around. I gave you the example of the depth chart. And that wasn't to denigrate Cody's abilities. All I said is now they have so much talent, I'm not going to put Cody over any of the people I named. And by the way, I didn't name Jungle Boy. I didn't even name Darby Allin. Guys that are becoming stars in their own right, who could become in that middle tier and then eventually maybe have a chance at one of the upper tiers. Whether they win or not is a different conversation. But they're developing into stars in their own right. And those are homegrown AEW kids. So the point is, they've got a lot. What if Wardlow meets his potential? What if he gets to that level? Then he is at the bare minimum a TNT championship caliber guy. Or potentially a world championship caliber guy. Another one. How many do you want me to list off? At a certain point, it's like, dude, you're welcome to stick around, but I don't know what we're going to do here for you. Do you want a tag team title run? By the way, we've got a lot of amazing tag teams, so that might be tough. There's almost no division in which you can be the top dog right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, and he didn't do anything wrong. It's just the tide kept rising and rising and rising, and the boats keep going up and up and up. And right now, like, there's so much quality on the show that you can put together. Lots of folks that are over. They're getting their attention. They're selling merchandise. For God's sake, I'm not putting Cody over Danhausen. Danhausen is like the god of wrestling.
If he ever wrestles on the show, who knows?
That's the point. He doesn't even need to wrestle. He has outdrawn Cody by pointing.
And he hasn't even uttered a word on AEW either. He just points.
Star.
He lives under the ring and points.
Star. Like I said, between Danhausen and Pirate Julia Hart. I'm sorry, Cody, you're expendable. Sorry, bro. That's it. I got Pirate Julia Hart and Danhausen, bro. Like, what are we doing? By the way, jokes aside, a couple of guys that they could do something with if they tweak their story a little bit. I love Ethan Page. I think he's great, and I think if he gets a chance to do what he can do, because he's actually very solid in the ring. And he can be a good promo if you give him the right material. You need to give him the right story. And Scorpio Sky is really good.
Yeah.
By the way, individually, these guys could both be competing for the TNT Championship as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there for a lot of people, right?
So right now, my opinion is this roster is uber stacked. Like really, really stacked. You could still have a Trios Championship and still have it really stacked just to give these guys something to do.
True. And more importantly, Carl, most importantly, which we don't need to get into because we've gone on quite a long time now, which is fine. March 6th, Thunder Rosa is going to become women's champion.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, I focused a lot of attention here.
Which is kind of predictable. So I know we said, like to say WWE is predictable, but I feel this is predictable too.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to sometimes do the. It was also predictable when Britt Baker beat Sheeta. Like here's the problem: you're not going to get you're not going to get unpredictable. When you're doing a championship thing, you better be clear on who's winning the championship. You need to understand where you're going with this. They have their storyline. They have their reason for being there. We got to the point that we're supposed to get to. By the way, I'm not guaranteeing she wins it on this occasion because it's a regular match right now. They did the lights out match. I feel like it's got to be like a no disqualification or a cage match or something as the blow off to the feud where she wins. I feel like a straight match is kind of a weird choice for having.
Well, it also leads in the potential for interference from.
That's what I'm getting at. So I don't.
Hater and Rebel, right?
That card is actually really stacked. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if you decided to drag it out to the next pay-per-view. If you do some like a schmozzy finish, because they don't do that all the time. They're actually pretty good about holding restraining, and they usually have a finish.
Yeah, but if they, because like I don't think you gain anything from Britt Baker having a clean finish win.
Yeah, I think the best play for them is have some kind of schmoz, have something happen, and then it gives you an excuse to then push it. Because I feel like if you build it up to a steel cage or something big as the blow off, you can have that main event the show. But in this upcoming show, you're not going to have it main evented because there's already a lot of really. You're going to have MJF and CM Punk and dog collar match. Like you already got a lot of strong stuff on that show.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, I think this one's going to be a nice stacked card, but I don't think you have to necessarily blow off that feud because you basically just got back to it. Otherwise, you only got about 3 weeks to build. It feels a little quick to get to like the end of a big feud that you've had some background into it.
It's a good point. You make an excellent point, Carlos.
Yeah. So I feel like this may get extended a little bit, which is fine. That's okay. But like in my entire focus on that, I talked about, to your point, I talked about how stacked the card was. The women's section is getting more stacked too. Jade is getting a chance to eventually. You're gonna start filling in some people, and we haven't even touched on Toni Storm, who may eventually come in, possibly. Amber Moon, who may eventually come in, possibly. So all of a sudden you can have a strong division for the TBS Championship and have a strong division of competitors. So if Thunder Rosa is going to hang out there in the AEW Women's Championship side, great. Then that means the TBS Championship, you could fill it in with some more strong contenders. You could move Ruby Soho up and down between one and the other and have other people in there. You could have what's her name here? Oh, Chris Stanlander is going to be probably one of these. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like,
Serena Deeb's going to keep beating up jobbers because why not?
The thing is, eventually she's going to get one of those titles. I feel like the TBS Championship would be good for her. I feel like
I think so too.
Yeah, but here's the thing: that would be well deserved. She's doing a good job. I'm enjoying the little her beating the jobbers. I like it. I'm having fun with it. But the point is, she's doing a really good job. And that's another one. And by the way, Sheeta's away a little bit right now with the injury thing. I think she's off back to Japan doing some stuff. She'll come back eventually, and she'll be a contender for one of those titles.
Yeah. No,
so like this roster's fine.
And don't forget about Riho, Carlos.
She can have matches. She's good. She's good for what she does.
For sure.
But that's what I mean. Like, let's put it this way: Riho is almost in the Cody position, but not as an EVP. But like she started off. She was the first women's champion. Would I have her be the women's champion right now? No. Would I have her be the TBS champion? Probably not right now. But can she be in the hunt? Can she be a consistent contender and have some nice matches?
She could be contributing to some great storylines, though.
That's my point. So, like, if Riho, your former champion, is now a secondary player, but can be a good secondary player, that tells me the depth is improving.
Yeah, for sure.
Substantially. So it's like, Chris Jericho was the first men's champion. Is he going to be contending for the men's championship again? Nope. But can Chris Jericho still do stuff? Yeah.
He looked like in way better shape than he's looked like since I started watching this last week.
Which is good for him. I'm glad for him. He needs to stay in at least moderate shape, like he does, especially since he's older. Like, you got to stay in shape to be able to not hurt yourself in the ring. By the way, one more guy, and this is the last name I'll throw out there that we haven't even mentioned. Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
So, like, look, if you need me to find it, let me go get names out of a hat. I'll build you a storyline, and we'll grab some names out of a hat, and we'll throw them on Dynamite and Rampage for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We got plenty to do. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
Giving me extra airtime is not a bad thing in this situation. Like I said, I wish Cody Rhodes the best in whatever he decides to do. I hope it works out for him. But like, nope, you left the company, to your credit, you left the company in a much better position than when it started. You guys built it from the ground up. Right now, though, I am spoiled for choice in things that we can do here right now. And by the way, I said I was going to stop naming names, but I forgot one with Malachi Black thing. I don't know if you saw the promo. Did you see the Malachi Black promo?
I did see the promo.
You know it was in the background, right?
No, I didn't know. I did not catch who that was.
Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Murphy?
Yep.
Who's Buddy Murphy?
Buddy Murphy was the guy who was in WWE. He was as Buddy Murphy. He was the one who was the 205 Live champion. He did a lot of that stuff with them. He's actually an excellent wrestler. And he's been doing some great stuff on the indies. But he also has a long-standing feud, and he's buddies with Malachi Black.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where like it actually kind of in a multiverse kind of situation because okay, let me give it to you this way. You know Malachi Black has the thing with the eye?
Yes.
That's a carryover that he decided to really take it seriously, a carryover storyline from WWE where Buddy Murphy injured his eye. So the whole black thing in the eye is a continuation of a storyline with Buddy Murphy. By the way, when he did his little video, he was referring to Matthew. He's like, hey, you got to stop getting in a fight with Matthew. Matthew's Buddy Murphy.
Yeah. Okay.
Even in his little vignettes, he's referencing him. And by the way, when Buddy Murphy got released from WWE as well, he did his own little vignette breaking out of jail or whatever. He made a little Malachi Black reference as well. So those guys had probably been in cahoots for some time, talking through and dropping little hints here and there. So when they got the little background thing, I saw like the edge of the beard. It looks like Buddy Murphy.
Right.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he's the guy joining the House of Black. And if it is, it's going to be very entertaining. So it's like, because like I said, he is actually an excellent wrestler. So I'll quickly just share here on the screen who it is, just for reference. So here, let me, actually that's way too big a picture. Let me shrink that down. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like a cruiserweight kind of size guy, but he's actually got a very strong build. So
he's pretty jacked.
He's jacked. So it's one of those things. And by the way, he can fly around. He can fly around the ring like crazy. So like he can go in the ring. So I don't think there's going to be an issue with that. And if he's part of the House of Black, that's a very formidable trio. Because Malachi Black, it's big Brody King, and then you got this guy who can fly all over the place. And he's pretty jacked, and he's got the size to be able to make it look good. I would love to see him and Pac have a match.
Yeah.
It would be really good. Those guys have a match would be really good because he can go in the ring too. And by the way, didn't mention Pac.
It's true.
I'm running out of guys, Dave. And by the way, I didn't name half the roster. That's what I mean. It's a deep roster now. It's just like, they'll be fine. They will be fine. So that's covered. Did that. Was there anything else AEW was? I watched the show. It was good. I was enjoying it. It's just continuation building towards it. I kind of want by the way, we might get the John Moxley, Bryan Danielson show thing at maybe the pay-per-view. They haven't announced it, but that's basically what we're alluding to. By the way, that'll be a great match.
For sure.
And then they team up and become the two-man power trip. We will win all the titles.
Why
right?
not?
Sounds good. Sounds great. Look, if you can get Miro, the three, you can also win the trios titles. Take all the gold.
Do it.
We can have fun with this, is the point. Like I sense some fun coming up.
For sure.
Here, Dave.
Absolutely.
I sense some fun. That's why I say I'm cool with this, man.
Will this be the first pay-per-view that David ever buys? Possibly.
It feels like it's building up to be a pretty look. If they put in the Bryan Danielson and Moxley match in there, with all the other stuff they got going on, bruh, it's pretty good. I don't know. It's slightly better than Sands of Time, Saudi Blood Money is all I'm saying.
For sure.
A little bit better.
For sure.
Good stuff. All right. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think we had a great conversation tonight.
Yeah. So hopefully that gave context. I know it took me a while. I had to give a lot of background on that. So I apologize that it took, but there was a lot there. There was a lot.
Yeah, but as you said, it is important to give Cody his due.
Yes. But it also gives a lot of context to why he might have, aside from money, why he might feel like he wants to try something else. Why he didn't, maybe this vision didn't add up to what he wanted to do. He wanted to do wrestling a certain way. And they let him have a lot of latitude, but then his contract was running out. And then he's like, well, can I do the thing that I want to do my way exactly? And he goes, look, man, it's taking up a lot of airtime. And like the product is going in a different direction. And you're sticking to this Codyverse here. It's like, we've given you a segment on the show for like a year. It's like, how long are we going to keep this going? Do you want to just fit in with the rest of the show, or like?
Yeah.
Like I said, I still don't understand the Brandy feud with Dan Lambert is still the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't get it, and it never worked. Like I don't understand what the point of it was.
Yeah, I don't really either.
Yeah, and it's like, to be honest, out of everything, the biggest benefit I see here is that we end it. We're able to move past it, and even I don't mind Dan Lambert. He's got his purposes. Let him do something else. The only thing I feel bad though is that we didn't get a Paige Van Sant match.
There's still time, Carlos. There's still time.
Well, I told Billy, one of the gentlemen from Upper Deck, that when I was chatting with on my live stream this past week.
Did you say when is the Paige Van Zandt AEW card coming out?
Well, I joke with him. I go, so I said we narrowly missed out on the Paige Van Sant match, and he goes, I don't know, there still might be time, and I go, yeah, if there is, it's like, and he's like, I wouldn't mind putting it in the checklist. I just needed to have a match because then it would make sense. So no guarantees on that, but because it hasn't happened yet. But if they can find another excuse, I think Paige Van Sant would do well in wrestling. I think she would actually do well.
I do too.
Yeah. So we'll see.
All right, man. Then let's wrap it up because that was some good wrestling. Good wrestling talk tonight, Carlos.
There you go. We do what we can. All right. So podcasts usually available on iTunes and Spotify. I think the last episode I probably didn't because I'm a lazy bastard. But today I will make sure it gets done this time. Otherwise, go to the freaking YouTube channel, you lazy bastards. For God's sake.
You get to see both of us point like Danhausen. Come on.
Like it works, man. It works on levels. I'm telling you, Danhausen AEW rookie. Oh my God. It's like, just saying. T206 Honus Wagner, Danhausen AEW rookie. Same value? No. I can't go quite.
Not even close.
I can't go that far. But still. All right. So that's it for me and Dave. As usual, we'll be, give a review to the podcast if it's the audio version. Give a like if you're checking out the video version. Subscribe to the channel for more hijinks and random wrestling talk. And me sitting back, preparing to denounce WWE's latest attempt to do really bad gimmicks. Because there was a lot of that too. Mm-hmm. Always some Saudi blood money slander, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. Anyway, that's it for us. We will catch you in the next one.